Hello, welcome to your friend the Ineffable Ghost. Today I want to talk about the documentary One Child Nation. So, One Child Nation is a documentary by Nanfu Wang, who is a filmmaker, and she herself was born under the one child policy of China. So, this documentary was released in 2019 when the policy was no longer in effect. So, I thought to make a video about it because recently Korea's birth rate was in news that it is very low, that people, women are not getting married, women are not having children, and the birth rate is so low that it could lead to major crisis, that the population of Korea would have mostly adult people and nobody to care for them. So I thought that there was one policy in China which was opposite. There were so much population that people had to, that government had to put in a policy or enforce this policy where they had to, control the population. So everyone must have heard about this policy. So China has a communist type of government, that is, it is a one party state. So every citizen of China needs to follow what the government wants. It's not like they have a choice, they need to follow what the government wants. So China was reaching to a 1 billion population mark very quickly, which could lead to disruption between the demand and supply of resources such as food, which could further lead to starvation. Because if there are more people, you would need more food, and if demand increases, the supply is not accordingly, then obviously it could lead to starvation. So government implemented one child policy in 1979 unofficially, and officially it came into force in 1980s. The implementation of the policy prevented around 400 million children to be birthed, and government stopped this mandate in 2016. So you can see the policy was in effect for almost 36 years, and for almost 36 years people were not allowed to have more than one child. So on the surface level, it seems like something okay, right? If you look at it only from the facts and figures point of view, you will think that, okay, this policy actually helped China. Okay, the government foresaw the problem and implemented a solution for it. But the documentary shows that, was it really what it seems to be? Was it really that straightforward? That's the question that this documentary One Child Nation explores with incredible depth. So, in this documentary, Nanfu Wang, being born in the same time when the policy was under effect, unfolds this very intricately. So, she tries to show the real consequences of what it meant for the people who actually went through that time. There were abortions, there were forced sterilizations of women, and hefty fines for having more than one child. So, hefty fines, if people wanted to have more than one child, they had to pay a very big fine for it. So this was in a way trying to prevent people who had no money, poor people, to stop having children. And this eventually, when poor people had more than one children but they did not have fines to pay for it, people started opting for illegal adoptions. They started doing female infanticides, because this is a worldwide problem, that men were always considered superior to female. Every family wanted, if they have a choice or if they had to choose, they wanted a boy baby instead of a girl baby. So female infanticides rates went on, the human trafficking was increased. What struck me most was how helpless everyone felt. And I can really understand this after watching the documentary, because on the surface, I would say that people were just saying this, people always have a choice. But while watching the movie, everyone at least said one thing in common, that the policy was very strict and nobody had a choice, not the enforcers and not the citizens. So people actually believed that they did not have any choice. So throughout the documentary, Nanfu talks to many people from her own family and outside of the family to see what their experiences was and how they feel about it now. Their sentiments are being beautifully captured in the documentary, but it is important for us as a viewer to listen to their experiences without judgment, because I could actually see that Nanfu herself was getting irritated by views of some of the family members in her family, and she was not able to understand how they could have done it, how they could have given away their own children. And also, but it's evident that many people really felt that they had no choice in the matter. Now, there are adverse effects of the policy. The policy controlled the population at that time, But in today's time, China is actually facing the effects because of the lack of enough females, because of the female infanticide. There are not enough females for people to marry, and there are not enough young people to take care of the elderly. Because now, as we discussed about the Korea situation, so this is the one child policy kind of pushed China in that direction also. So I got a lot more aware what the policy actually was than what it seemed to be through the documentary. And there was a question where Nanfu mentions that this was also in some way overtaking control of a woman's body. So it's like government is asking, or telling you that what you can and cannot do about with your body. So I'm not talking about the enforcement, I'm just saying that how it was enforced. If they wanted to say that you could have only one child, that's a different thing. But the forced sterilization of a woman is something that government took into their own hands, that how they have the control of a woman's body. So if that was what this is, the documentary overall was very thought provoking and eye opening, and I highly recommend watching this documentary. It's available on Amazon Prime, and this will challenge your assumptions and make you appreciate the human stories behind policies and statistics, that it's not all maths. When you involve human emotions in the stories, that it's not always 2 plus 2 equals to 4. So if you have already watched it and if you want to share anything related to the documentary, you can use the comment section. Otherwise, if you have time and if you really want to watch something good, then I would really suggest you watch the documentary.